KOTO listeners. We are back and we have Reid Harkness. Hi, Reid. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Yay, Reid.
Hey, Reid.
Thank you so much for joining on KOTO this evening. You can also hear the voices of Suzanne Braza and Sage Martin in the studio as well. And we are here to chat about your film, Sam Now, which is a U.S. premiere. Ooh, and Jason Reid is joining as well, so we're going to let him in too. But as we're getting going, big question, but do you mind just giving a little bit of a description of what the film Sam Now is all about?
Sure. Hi. Sam Now is a almost lifelong project. It's 25 years in the making. It features my younger half-brother Sam as we try to track down his missing mother, my stepmother, Joyce. And we go on a multi-thousand-mile road trip down the West Coast looking for her. It's filmed on nearly every format. It's a big life journey, but a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was... It's a beautiful movie. I was saying to Suzanne before we started, it kind of like hit me in all the feels. It's really, it's a really beautiful film. And, you know, I wonder for you as being both the person behind the camera, but also a subject in the film. Like, this is your family. There's even a moment in the film where you're filming yourself as a younger person and saying, I'm gonna hate watching this back of myself. So I'm curious, you know, what that was like for you to be in both of those, kind of as the objective documentarian kind of, but then also the person living this experience as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely more comfortable behind the camera, as you can see in the film. Sam is mostly the subject of the film, and you know, just has such a lighthearted energy. He's so playful, and he's always taking falls and then like somehow bouncing right back up. So he just was like kind of natural for being on camera, where I feel like I'm a little more vulnerable and maybe wear my emotions on my sleeve a little bit. And in the scene you're describing, yeah, it's definitely like one of those moments, you know, where I'm addressing my family, and I'm like, it's really very uncomfortable. But I think that I learned very early on that like that was a necessary part of the story and of the family dynamic. You know, what's going on for me in that moment becomes very important in the narrative.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it is an interesting film because, as you mentioned, I will say, watching it didn't necessarily go where I anticipated it to go. I guess maybe more thinking of like not a whodunit, but kind of a like, let's find this person that has gone missing from our lives. And then it turns into so much more than that. And really this exploration of how we engage with family and relationships and how we heal or move on or deal with trauma, and how people have engaged towards us and then how people have engaged towards them. Do you feel like did you expect to make the film that you ended up making when you started, if that makes sense?
No, absolutely not. And that was a very good description. I mean, it is a deep dive that keeps diving, and at the same time, I think it holds on to its own style and its own kind of genre. I say that only because the filmmaking that, you know, starts the film is all fictional, and it's all very like wrapped up in, you know, my brothers and I playing and just like enjoying the feeling of making a movie. So that leads us down this, you know, this family dysfunction thing, which is maybe not truly dysfunction. Maybe all families are dysfunctional. So maybe it's just looking at something that is very normal for families. But we do it in a creative way, using our kind of like youthful tools, and we get somewhere with it. We actually are able to, find these places where we can kind of open things up and make things happen.
I've been following this film for a long time, as Reid and Jason both know. I love this film, and I think what's always I keep coming back to with it that just draws me so deeply into this story is, yes, it has the family dysfunction that we all have, but there's so much love, familial love. There's so much playfulness, like you're talking about. Just like this, when you see this film, they've got footage from when they were like 6 years old, and they're just like making superhero movies, and it's just so charming and so beautiful, and you just get wrapped up in their whole playfulness and this sibling love. And so to me, it's almost like that whole thing of like, you do the work, but only the love will show. Like at the end, you're just left with so much respect and so much awareness of how much they love each other as a family. And it's just a mind-blowingly great film.
It is. Absolutely. I shed a lot of tears watching this film, a lot. It was so beautiful and so emotional. So congratulations on your film. And I was really touched, and maybe you could talk a little bit more about the Blue Panther and how that kind of theme went throughout. And it was very touching kind of the longer it went on, because it seemed more like a coping mechanism as it progressed. And it was, it made me cry, and it was so beautiful. So I'm so thrilled to have your film at Mountain Film, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the Blue Panther.
Thank you both. Yeah, the Blue Panther is Sam's alter ego that he created when he was probably like 9 or 10. I remember him going into his room and pulling some things out of a costume box, a wetsuit and a wrestling mask, and then running out and almost like Chuck Norris, just like attacking my brother Jared and I, and we just we're on the floor laughing. It was just the silliest and funnest thing ever. But we used the Blue Panther as basically a way for us to approach the sort of difficult themes in the movie. It's not us going on a trip to find our missing mom. It's the Blue Panther who's going on the trip to find his missing mom. So in that way, we are making a movie about the trying thing, and therefore it becomes an adventure and something fun to do. So that's sort of the spirit of Sam Now, is just like, we're approaching things very much in our own way. It's our own style of approaching the world, and it's also very personal. It's like we're sharing something that, well, on the surface, has a mask and a costume and is superhero-like, but really what's going on is a coping mechanism. Like you said, it's a way for us to process this heavy stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was really beautiful in the film. You talk with the whole family on like all sides of all the families, and there's a point at the very beginning where Sam says, well, I should just start with interviewing people about kind of what happened. And so you have both your dad, your grandparents, then Joyce's family, who is slightly estranged from everybody and appears to have a very interesting relationship, and Joyce, and all these different people who are having a different experience of this family unit. And I'm curious how, with keeping that sibling love was very front and center, I think, the whole way through, but how you kind of navigated and balanced bringing all those different experiences that together that were important to kind of tell this whole story?
I'll start, and then Jason, who's here, who's a producer and also an editor on the film, can fill in some of the funner aspects of putting it all together. But it's the story is really a one thing leads to the next progression, where it's like, okay, we're going to make a film about finding a missing mom, right? And then, well, how are we going to do that? So we need to interview people. Okay, who are we going to interview? Everything just kind of follows sort of the natural mystery of, what you need to do to find somebody. And then from there, it keeps going. It keeps diving, because the questions reveal and bring up even bigger questions. So everybody plays a role in family. And I think that it was important to me to really try to capture like the whole structure, and that means not just like, the nuclear family, but it's, my extended family, and it's the blended family that's here, and it's the generations. So snapshot of generations is just like so key to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was one of the incredible things Reid did, was just talking to all these people. And there's hundreds of hours of interviews and footage with the family. There's all of the VHS archives of the family. There's these incredible fictional films that he filmed with his family, and, shot over 25 years. And so as an editor, it was both a huge daunting task, but also a great joy to like work with basically Reid's life's work and all of these different formats and things, and figuring out all the different layers of the story and how they all piece together into a narrative in 86 minutes that actually, takes you from this point of Sam as a young kid all the way up to a fully grown man dealing with, the traumas that he dealt with as a young man and coming to terms with them. And we're just so excited to share this film with the Mountain Film audiences. Having come to Mountain Film and Telluride multiple times with previous films, I just know the audiences there are going to connect with this film. And I think one of the really cool things about this film, showing it to audiences for the first time recently, is that it sparks conversation, and it forces people to relate back to themselves traumas or things that their family has gone through. And this is such a relatable story that can speak to everybody. And we really look forward to the conversations that are going to come out of this film and the Q&As with Reid and I and some of our other filmmaking partners on this project being there. And we hope that this film can, bring a lot of skeletons out of the closets of other families, so they can actually talk about, what's been going on and have some sort of healing, or at least acknowledgement of things that have happened. So.
Yeah, I know. I very much I finished watching it, and then I was like, I need to sit for a minute and like think about some things. I'm curious, Jason, from your perspective of, this not being your family, but being very much in it through all of the footage that you watched, and then Reid as this being your family experience. What do you feel, or do you feel like you've learned anything new about what family means, or what those kinds of relationships mean, having been through and put this film together?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big question. Yeah, I mean,
you have 1 minute. No, I'm kidding.
Well, what's really interesting is Reid and I grew up together around the corner from each other, so I knew him and his family personally. So, I am really close to this story, and I'm probably the only person who's watched like every frame of everything that Reid has shot. It certainly makes me think about a lot of things that have happened in my family, and gosh, I don't know. I just feel like it brings up a lot of things that are often go unsaid. And I think it's important to say these things. And that's what's so great about what Reid did, is he used this film as a vehicle for conversation, to open up the conversation within his own family, and to try to get to a place of healing, or at least understanding. And I feel like I've had a lot of conversations when I showed my family that it really opened up a lot of portals to things that maybe we hadn't talked about all the way. And I think that it does the same for other people that we've shared this with. Reid, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. I started this movie as a teenager. I have 4 kids now, and I am, like always learning from them, and every situation is new, and I don't know if there's like ever any understanding of family. You're just constantly learning and growing as a family. But in doing such a like deep kind of meditative journey on family through, this long-term project, like really the things that I see that are the takeaways are that like, don't ignore shit. Like really be present and like, get this stuff out that needs to get out, because it's going to come back and haunt you if you don't. And, roles are important. The parent roles, mother, father, are, clearly like just very fundamental things that shouldn't be taken for granted, for one thing. But then also, there's things like you can choose your family. You can sometimes those roles can be filled in other ways. And I think that the bottom line is that nurture, compassion, and all the sort of building blocks of like early childhood adapting are so key. And those things like if you have traumas within those years, you're gonna have to work at them for probably your whole life. So the sooner that any of us can help to metabolize, to like get stuff to the surface, to start feeling our feelings, to start sharing our feelings, really the better off that it ripple effects out to all of society. So it's like, I can see from my family story, like what a difference it makes to not just in making a film about something that is traumatic, but in working to sort of help my brothers, really. I can see how that made a difference.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful film, and I know that everyone's so excited to have it here and to have y'all here to speak about it. So I really appreciate you coming on KOTO this evening to give a little teaser on what folks can expect. And yeah, congratulations on the film.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Can't wait. See you in Telluride.
Yay.
Bye, y'all. KOTO listeners, that was Reid Harkness and Jason Reid from the film Sam Now, which will be at Mountain Film this year.